OMG, look at us. Here we are doing another tour. I'm gonna lower my mask because I'm gonna be walking away from people, so chill out. In front of the library, we're gonna be walking up 5th Avenue today here in Midtown. So let's go. Now we're walking up 5th Avenue. This is the New York Public Library. I already covered it in a different video. I covered it in the Midtown video. Sick plug, put that up here. Yeah. Also in the Ghostbusters video, sick plug. Yeah, put that there somewhere, wherever. But we're walking north on 5th Avenue. 5th Avenue starts down at Washington Square Park, actually, and goes all the way up through Manhattan, but it ends and starts at Washington Square Park. Here to the right, you have the Astor Trust Company building. That's a famous John Jacob Astor, one of the richest men to ever live in New York. Name of the namesake of Astoria, Astor Place, which we covered in the East Village video. Sick plug. But yeah. Walking north on 5th Avenue. A little tour here, doing a little tour guiding. One of the sexiest jobs on the planet, right? It's like firefighter and tour guide. A bachelorette party, tour guide shows up and takes off his clothes. All right, I'm gonna stop. Anyways, we're gonna walk north. Here to the left, you have 500 5th Avenue. Pretty cool Art Deco building, finished in 1931. Interesting because of its setbacks. If you look at how it's set up, the building goes up and then in like a wedding cake. That was something that was implemented in the year 1916. The city started requiring this from tall buildings that went up because of a building built in Lower Manhattan on Broadway, actually, the Equitable building. I actually covered that in my Lower Manhattan tour. Man, these are some sick plugs. But it goes up and in like a wedding cake, and all the buildings from 1916 until the mid-1900s had to go up that way if they were taller than a certain height. Here you see people selling some authentic Louis Vuitton, an authentic Prada. Yeah, those are each $1,000 bags right there on the ground. Wink. So 5th Avenue historically was where all the rich people lived, all the way up until the early 1900s. So through the mid-1800s, this is where people like the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, lots of very wealthy people always lived on 5th Avenue in mansions. You can actually see some of those mansions if you continue up 5th Avenue next to the park. They're now museums and things, but towards the end of the 1800s and early 1900s, it became okay for the rich to live in apartments. So it kind of rebranded this area of Midtown as stores and hotels. It became kind of the retail shopping area of Manhattan, and today it's still that. So if you wanted to come here and go shopping, great place to do that, You can go to all the Louis Vuitton and Gucci or Louis Vuitton, I guess, for some of you, or Gucci and Armani, all those famous brands, and spend $600 and buy a tie clip for your dad for the day, and that's your shopping day. Very expensive. And it's a little dead right now. There's not a ton of people, even though it is a weekday today. Is it a weekday? I don't even know anymore. Is it a weekday, Phil?
Wednesday.
Oh, that's good to know. I should keep track better. And you have also Grand Central Terminal right over here to the right. This is one of the reasons why this area became so populated, So when Grand Central Terminal opened in the early 1900s, that's when this area started to shift. The hotels went up, the stores kind of started to go up. It became way more populated. And a lot of the rich people who lived in the mansions were like, this place is done. There goes the neighborhood, let's get the heck out of here. So they moved to other parts of the city. Today, it's a very touristy area. Well, not today, but now at this time in history in New York. Not many tourists here right now, unfortunately. Fortunately for me, because that's how I make money. That being said, I'll put my PayPal and my Venmo in the description. Wink. All right, let's cross. See lots of retail space available, signs. A lot of places are closing down, even on 5th Avenue. No one can justify paying these rents anymore, especially during COVID, because no one here to shop for your stuff. What a lot of stores do have here and have had here in the past are what they call flagship stores. Almost like a marketing store. They pay these astronomical rents. A lot of times they lose money on them, but it's kind of worth it because it's like marketing for them. It's like our store on 5th Avenue. We're that important of a brand. Over here to the left, you'll see an I Love New York gifts. A lot of gift shops here, but the I Love New York logo, and we're crossing on red. Don't ever do that. You could die. Where you see the I Love New York gifts there. That logo actually dates back to the 70s. In fact, when New York was having lots of economic problems, the state, it was done for the state, not the city of New York. They hired an ad agency to try to come up with something to rejuvenate the idea of the city and all that stuff. And this guy named Milton Glaser was hired as kind of like the graphic designer. And he came up with the idea, I Love New York. And the way it's set up is I love on top and then New York, NY on the bottom. He doodled it on his way to one of the campaign pitches. And he structured it like a little square based on the, I think the guy's name is Robert Indiana, who made the love sculpture. That's the LO and the VE on the bottom. Pretty cool. He actually hasn't seen a dime of it. It was done pro bono on the part of Glaser. Milton Glaser just passed away recently, RIP. And next to it is the consulate of the Philippines. The consulate's where, Philippine citizens in like the Northeast come and get like their passport stuff and any kind of help they need. You guys know where the Philippines are. Where Rodrigo Duterte is the current leader there. Kind of an authoritarian guy. They're doing a lot of killing over there. It's kind of crazy. So this is also too part of Midtown. We did an earlier Midtown video, and like I said before, the streets are all numbered because of the grid plan that was implemented in 1811. Avenues go north-south, streets go east to west. And Midtown kind of stretches from around the 40s to up to the park, really. That's all Midtown. And then you have Midtown East and you have Midtown West. We're kind of on the border of Midtown at 5th Avenue. This is kind of the border of Midtown. Or you can see Charles Scribner and Sons over here. It's the big Charles and Scribner and Sons building. Charles Scribner and Sons was a publishing house. They actually were responsible for publishing some of the biggest books of the 20th century. Hemingway, Stephen King. And that was right there. You see Scribner and Sons booksellers, founded in 1846. Pretty cool little building. A little Beaux-Arts building. Beaux-Arts. I've explained this in past videos, but Beaux-Arts comes from It comes from the early 1900s, late 1800s in New York City, where New York City was kind of blowing up and blowing up onto the scene. And they took this style from Europe, where a lot of the architects were taking it from L'École des Beaux-Arts of Paris, France. And they kind of put it up here everywhere because New York felt like it belonged in the same conversation. They're like, we're just as cool as Rome and Paris and everything. Give us some of that Beaux-Arts stuff. So it went up everywhere. That's a good example of a Beaux-Arts building. So chances are, if you see a Beaux-Arts building in New York City, it was from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And like I said, they were rebuilding this area a lot in the 1900s, early 1900s, late 1800s. You want to come over here, Phil? Get on my other side so you can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, that's seamless. We know what we're doing. We're very professional. See more prime retail. And stores are just now starting to open up, and you can go in when they make you wait in line outside. But you can also see in this area things like TGI Fridays. Yikes. If you ever come to New York and eat at TGI Fridays, book yourself the next flight out of New York, please. It's a waste. Don't waste your time eating at a place like that. There's so many other better places. But I say that only because this is a touristy area normally, and you have things like TGI Fridays in more touristy areas. You're not going to find TGI Fridays on St. Mark's in the East Village, for example. Next to me here is Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue. We're on Fifth Avenue. Oh my God, that's amazing. But Saks actually originally started in DC. Andrew Saks started a store in DC in the mid-1800s, eventually opened up here in New York and it became a hit. This is the flagship store on Fifth Avenue. Kind of became famous. You may recognize it too from different TV shows and movies. Elf did a scene in front of here. In the TV show Friends, this is where Joey gets a job as a cologne tester. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was never a huge fan of Friends, but people are always asking me about that show, so I have to point it out. But that's Saks Fifth Avenue here to the right. And then over here to the left, we're going to be going, we're passing now by Rockefeller Center. This is Rockefeller Center, one of the best examples of Art Deco in New York City. A huge 22-acre commercial development started by John D. Rockefeller Jr. OMG, that where he got his name? Here you have the promenade, which leads up to the Prometheus statue. We're going to walk down this. We may get kicked out of here because we're not supposed to be filming, so why don't you keep it on the DL there, Phil? It should be okay. But this is the promenade leading up to the Prometheus statue. Prometheus was a Greek titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humankind. So humankind is like very thankful to him for technology and development, etc. But for his crime, he was punished by being put up on a stake and having birds eat his organs every single day, having them grow back just to be eaten again. You can see it's dead here. Normally it's packed with tourists, but you may recognize this too from, 30 Rock. This is where NBC has its studios here in New York. So they film the Today Show here. You'll see that over here to the left. They film the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, where he gets to, play charades with Channing Tatum every episode or whatever they do. You have Late Night Seth Meyers, and then over here you have NBC, the Today Show films, and then you have 30 Rock, and then that's the Prometheus statue, and that's where the ice skating rink is also in the mornings. I'm sorry, also in the winter. What did I say mornings for? So you have NBC Studios, all this here, and then it's all 22 acres. So we'll just walk back this way before we get yelled at. I already saw security people giving me the eye. Don't they know who I am? Don't they know how important I am? So we're gonna walk back to Fifth, but that's pretty much Rockefeller Center. It's huge. And what happened was Rockefeller bought this entire plot of land from Columbia University, actually, with the intent of creating a home for the Metropolitan Opera House. Problem was, this was in the late 1920s, early 1930s, and the Great Depression began. There was the stock market crash, and the Metropolitan Opera House pulled out of the deal. So he was stuck with this huge plot of land and nothing to do with it. So he said, okay, the only way I have a chance at getting my money back is to create a commercial development, because businesses will be able to afford that stuff. So he did. He created this huge business commercial area. He even tried to appeal internationally. In fact, right here we're next to, you'll see the British Empire Building and La Maison Française, two different buildings that were named after the French and the English, obviously. And this is right here, you have La Maison Française, and you also have the British Empire Building. And the idea was to appeal to those countries and companies in those countries, so they open here. Because he was desperate to sell and rent out his space. This, by the way, back then was a humongous development. No one had ever done something of this size before for just commercial, so it was a really, really big deal. So it took off. In fact, in the 1930s, when they were building it, they came up with the idea of the Christmas tree. Every week after Thanksgiving now, they light the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center, because they used to put a tree there for the construction workers who used to work here to keep their morale up. And if you've ever seen the picture of the men at work, like where they're eating lunch on the steel beam, that was done here at Rockefeller Center when they were building Rockefeller Center. Pretty cool. It was also staged. Sorry to pop your bubble. There are actually other videos, other photos of them like laying down. So it was staged. They weren't really eating lunch like that. Here to my right, obviously you guys are probably wondering, St. Patrick's Cathedral was finished in the 1870s. It was started in the late 1850s. But what happened was the Civil War of the United States began in the 1860s, causing more of a delay. It's very beautiful. This is the seat of the Diocese of New York. If you're Catholic, you know what that means. But obviously very beautiful neo-Gothic building designed by James Renwick Jr., who was only 23 years old when he was commissioned for his first church here in New York, Grace Church in the East Village, which I covered in the East Village video. Oh my God, sick plug. Cool fact about that is the actual doors are about 9,000 pounds of pure solid bronze. Here to the left is the Atlas by Lee Lowry, a pretty cool. Up here to the right, you have the Cartier Mansion, which is a really cool building here. The Cartier Mansion was actually the mansion of a man. So Henry Plant was a very rich train tycoon. It's gonna get dark here, Phil. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no, watch Phil tinker with the lights. Look at the genius and he's good, baby, he's good. That's why I pay him the big bucks. But the Cartier Mansion is right there. And the Cartier Mansion used to be a mansion, not for Cartier, but for a man named Henry Plant. His son actually bought this as an actual mansion. And when they were getting rid of it, Cartier was looking for a place to set up his shop. This is kind of interesting. And Plant's wife had her eye on a set of pearls that Cartier had created. So Cartier traded her the set of pearls and $100, and they got the entire building to open the store. This is it right here. You may recognize it too from Ocean's 8. It's the one with Sandra Bullock and all that. Pretty cool building, but that's what the mansions used to look like on this street. Come on, Phil, we can make this. I believe in you. And you have all these fancy designers, Salvatore Ferragamo. You know, you have Gucky and Louis Vuitton. But you also have like H&M. H&M we passed by a little bit before. H&M is, I think it stands for Hennes and Moritz, which is it's a Swedish company. But they're famous for their clothes. They have this patented process where the clothes disintegrate after 2 weeks. You buy them and your pants will disintegrate into nothing, into dust after 2 weeks. The clothes don't last, that's the joke. Rolex, this is a Rolex actually right here. See that? This watch is $50,000. It's not. It's not. And yeah, my Venmo and PayPal is in the description. Here to the left is St. Thomas. It's a really beautiful theater. I was gonna say theater. It's a really beautiful church. This was built in the early 1900s. Bertram and Goethe were the architects. They actually were famous for designing St. John the Divine up in Morningside Heights as well. So it's closed, unfortunately, because I'd like to take you inside and show you what it's famous for. It's famous for its reredos. That's a cool word. Reredos. It's the back part of the altar. It's like this really humongous, giant stone carved thing, incredible detail, all behind the altar, facing out. Also, too, Fifth Avenue, this whole area, very popular for the hotels. We're going to walk by a famous hotel here in a second called the St. Regis. It's just off of Fifth Avenue. The St. Regis is famous for inventing, they claim, the Bloody Mary. They claim to have invented the Bloody Mary at the St. Regis, which is right over here to the right. Also, too, they filmed a scene from, what was that movie with Sandra Bullock? What was that movie with Sandra Bullock where she was undercover at the beauty pageant? No, where she was undercover at the beauty pageant. Miss Congeniality, that's it. She did a scene with Michael Caine outside in front where he's teaching her how to walk. I wasn't crazy about the movie, but it was right out here. And then here to the left you have Fifth Avenue Presbyterian. It's this church. It's one of the largest Presbyterian congregations in the United States. Beautiful church from the 1870s, pretty old. And then here you have the Peninsula, the old Peninsula Hotel, another famous hotel. Right, yeah, it's called Peninsula actually. Yeah, there it is, Peninsula, still called Peninsula. Harry Winston, you have Harry Winston, the famous jeweler here. Check this out, right behind me, Harry Winston. Harry Winston is famous for being the last private owner of the Hope Diamond. He actually donated it to the Smithsonian and sent it to them using first-class mail, which is pretty dumb. If you don't know what the Hope Diamond is, if you've seen the movie Titanic, it's the diamond that the Titanic's part of the ocean is based on. It's a 44.5 carat diamond, valued at around $250 million. That's in a museum now. That's the Peninsula Hotel. There's Armani, Dulce and Gabbana. Don't start correcting me. I know what the real pronunciation is. There's Gucky. And here to the right is Trump Tower, White House North. That's where Donald Trump has his home, penthouse. I don't know if you guys know who Donald Trump is. I don't know if you guys know who he is. It's a whole nother video, I guess. I don't want to get into that one now, but that's where his stuff is. It was built in 1983. You might recognize it too from Dark Knight Rises, and also from Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort had his home in that building. You can see all the railings, and there's always news crews out there talking about stuff. Maybe I should go try to get on the news and plug my channel. They'll be like, "Hi, what do you think about the political situation?" I'll be like, "I don't know, but I got a great YouTube channel. You should check it out." And they'll be like, "That was not helpful." You can also see the guys with machine guns in front. Abercrombie & Fitch. You know what's cool about Abercrombie & Fitch? I used to love it in high school, but it was actually it used to be an outdoorsman's company. They used to make outdoors stuff for the outdoors. They would make, look at this guy. They would make stuff for hiking, and Teddy Roosevelt used to wear it, Ernest Hemingway. And now, Teddy Roosevelt's great-great-great-grandson, who plays Fortnite all day, is the one who wears it. There's Louis Vuitton, sorry. And now we're crossing 57th Street. This is known as Billionaires Row because of the giant condo buildings that are on this street. We'll talk about that one in a different video. Wink. Here's Tiffany & Co., which dates back to 1837. They make jewelry, obviously, but they also make the NBA Finals, Super Bowl, World Series, and US Open trophies. Kind of cool. We're almost to the Central Park, which is kind of the end of Midtown. If you continued 5th Avenue up next to Central Park, you would really be going more to the Upper East Side. There's almost no traffic here right now either, which is kind of crazy. All right, let's go. And then here to the left and right is Bergdorf Goodman. Started as actually named after Hermann Bergdorf, who was a French tailor who worked near Union Square, which is south of us. He eventually moved his store up here, and he partnered with one of the people who worked with him for a long time, named Edwin Goodman. And he kind of steered the company in the direction it ended up going, but very famous for like its window displays. You can see them here to the left. It's super expensive. I went in there one time, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is a nice polo shirt. It was like $400. I was like, nope, I'm gonna keep going to the factory outlets, baby. That's for me. The factory outlets is what I do now. This Bergdorf sits on the site of what used to be one of the Vanderbilt family's mansions. To give you an idea how huge it was 144 rooms. 144 rooms. Wrap your head around that. This is the kind of money that used to be on 5th Avenue. People literally used to take carriages up and down just to look at the houses. And the rich people would have these humongous windows so you could look inside and see the cool like stuff they had, the pianos and all that stuff. So it's like almost like a thing to do. Go just stare at all the rich people stuff, which you can now do on Instagram. That being said, follow me on Instagram. Hey, you know, at DNYC. I'll plug my Instagram. I should start posting more. Here to the right, you have the Apple Store. And here to the left too, more importantly, you have the Plaza Hotel. Ah, look how beautiful that is, huh? This is the Plaza Hotel. Plaza Hotel was finished in 1907. You know, the rooms run like $800 a night. I know that like the Plaza Suite, Royal Plaza Suite's like $30,000 a night. Which if you're willing to pay $30,000 a night for one night in a hotel room, just leave your address in the comments and I will come over to your house and do you the favor of smacking you in the face because you're wasting money. Send that money to me. Good Lord, I could use that. But that's the Plaza Hotel. You may recognize it from Home Alone 2. I had a video on Home Alone 2. Sick plug. Eep. Click here, whatever. But also you may recognize it from The Sopranos when Tony's booted out by Carm Soprano. Anyways, that's it. And also too, you have here the Sherry Netherland, another famous hotel from the 1920s. And you also have the Pierre. The Pierre, it's like one over. The Pierre, actually where Chandler got married in Friends, OMG. Also too, where there was an apartment listed a few years ago. It was, I want to say 16-room triplex for $125 million it was listed. It wouldn't even come close to getting sold for that. But yeah. Also too, this area here, right here next to the park, is where the most expensive apartment ever rental apartment, over $500,000 a month in rent for an apartment that was right here at the corner of Central Park, which I already did in a video. Sick plug, link here, yeah, click it. But yeah, this is also too the Pulitzer Fountain, named after Joseph Pulitzer. He bequeathed money when he died. Joseph Pulitzer was a Hungarian immigrant. He came over here, became a very famous newspaper man. He actually competed a lot with William Randolph Hearst. He funded lots of things around the city, like the Statue of Liberty's pedestal, the Pulitzer Prize, given out at Columbia every year for excellence in journalism, and this fountain, which by the way was the inspiration for the fountain in the TV show Friends. Yep, they actually were going to use this fountain, but when they tested it, it was too big. The actors would seem too small. So they recreated a smaller scaled down version on the Warner Brothers lot in LA. Man, I'm giving you guys some good stuff. But unfortunately, the tour's done. We made it to the end. That was a pretty quick one. Just 5th Avenue, just Midtown, and that's it. Guys, if you could, please follow me on Instagram, subscribe to the channel, please. I could use the help. I could use the subscribers. I'm trying to grow this thing, trying to do more cool, interesting stuff. But more videos coming. Phil's the man for doing what he does. You should see him. He's like got a huge smile on his face. He's learned so much. He's ecstatic to be here. But otherwise, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I got more videos coming. Sick.